From the north side of the San Francisco Bay to Singapore, welcome to Urban X Real Talk Fitness Radio with your host, business owner, lecturer, author, master trainer, Tiaja. With over 30 years of experience in the health and fitness industry, he will challenge the fitness between your ears. So prepare your mind, body, and soul for the revolution of self-care, the evolution of fit, with real talk about real people, real health, real fitness, and the real deal behind our present illness culture. Real talk every time, all the time. Get weekly insights on how to shift your thinking, emoting, eating, training, hydrating, goal setting, and resting for you, the everyday athlete. You can cheat your fitness, but you can't steal your health flow. It's Tuesday, 9 a.m. Let's flow.
Welcome to Urban X Real Talk Fitness Radio, where we challenge the fitness between your ears. I'm your host, Tiaja. The response we received from our inaugural news segment last week was phenomenal. Thank you all for tuning in and taking the time to drop a comment in the mail. I really appreciate your continued support of this broadcast. For those of you who are new, let me quickly recap what you've missed over the past several weeks. But make sure you subscribe to the podcast as well by downloading our Podbean app at tiajae.podbean.com. That way, you'll be able to catch up on all our shows as well as get caught up on our popular series about body fat. You may think that all fat is created equal. Well, it isn't. Scientists are now discovering that your body has several different kinds of fat, and each with its own functionality and agenda. The kind of body fat most people are familiar with, even concerned about, is the pinchable fat around the stomach, the hips, the thighs, and the glutes. The pinchable kind of fat is called subcutaneous fat because it sits right below the surface of the skin. And though it's unsightly, it poses a minor threat to the health of the body when compared to visceral fat. Visceral fat is also known as active fat because it has the ability to secrete hormones like leptin, which it uses as an insurance policy of sorts to ensure that your body manufactures more of it. Visceral fat is dangerous, however, because it is the fat that wraps itself around your abdomen and internal organs. Visceral fat also increases your risk of serious health complications and diseases such as diabetes, heart disease, and cancer. The good news is diet and exercise in particular are changing the way visceral fat behaves in your body. The reasons why you and everyone else is wrong about fat has much to do with the mischaracterization and frankly bad rep fat receives due to our society's over obsession with thinness and appearance in general. Fat may sit underneath our skin, but it is also healing our wounds, offering padding from injuries and falls, and is on the front line of protecting our bodies from harm. Take a listen to an interview with alternative medicine guru Dr. Andrew Weil. Dr. Weil discusses the idea that as long as one remains healthy and fit, some body fat is good for our health as it helps protect the brain and nervous system. And as an added bonus, I'm going to toss in some of the ancient wisdom of the late great Dr. Sebi, who was world renowned as a natural healer and advocate for self-healing. If you never heard of the self-care philosophy of Dr. Andrew Weil or Dr. Sebi, you're in for a real treat. Remember, today will be just another day unless you decide today it won't be. It is Tuesday, March 5th, 2019. Let's flow.
And I will tell you, and this is something that I do believe, there have been some studies coming out recently saying this, and a lot of doctors don't like to hear this, that having moderately excess weight may be healthy, especially the older you get. It looks as if the main harm of carrying too much weight correlates with age, that the younger you are, the more dangerous it is to have excess weight. But that as you get into middle age and old age, having moderately excess weight seems to correlate with better longevity and better health. There are two ways in which I think having some excess body fat is useful. The first is that if you get a serious acute infectious illness, particularly one involving the respiratory system, such as a severe influenza or pneumonia, commonly you see people lose 20 pounds sometimes in 48 hours in response to having a high fever. If you don't have 20 pounds to lose, you're dead in that situation. Really, seriously. So this is, that's one reason that there's immediate protection from sudden death from an acute infection. Another long-range possibility that I see is that having some excess weight protects your brain and central nervous system because there seems to be a correlation with ultra leanness and a increased risk of ALS and other serious neurodegenerative diseases. And one possibility here is that if this is environmental toxicity of some sort, if there's no body fat to dilute whatever these exposures are, it concentrates in the fatty tissue of the central nervous system. I don't know, but that's a correlation that I see. So I would just put it out there that obsession with leanness is, I think it's gone to an extreme in this culture. And I think the media and entertainment industries are very responsible for that.
Bird doesn't get sick. Elephant doesn't get sick. He needs no vet. The lion doesn't need a vet. Neither is a giraffe or any of the natural animals. Why do we get sick? There has been a violation that is costing us our life today. And it would have been okay if I live happy until I die because of the violation, but that isn't what's happening. Because of the violation, I become stressed. I become extremely stressed until I die. Why do we get sick? What is the violation? The violation comes with creation, the understanding of it. The violation is when we have forgot or dismissed the ecclesiastics when it is said, the herbs are for the healing of the nations.
Remember what we said, that God made food for a plant, specifically for plants. Each plant has a different food. Birds, eagle eats meat, not a sparrow, not a hummingbird. He sucked the nectar from the flower. Gorillas, he eats leaves. Polar bear, he eats seal and blood. Homo sapiens is making a mistake someplace, somewhere, because among the animals, there are some that are carnivorous and some that are herbivorous. But among Homo sapiens, everybody eats meat. Something is wrong. Because if among the animals and plants, you could see a distinct food for each cellular structure, well, how come Homo sapiens are exempt from that same law? There are no vegetarian among the Homo sapiens.
Remember what we said, and this could be investigated, that carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen are the main players in not only supporting life, but in the manifestation of life. You see, everything that is constructed by the universe, creation, or God, has the structure of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. And it is starch-less. Whatever substance that is created by the universe is starch-less.
Blood and starch. Blood and starch. Blood and starch is going to prevent you from doing what the ants does for each other. Anything that God made is on the alkali side. Why? The molecular structure is complete. It was made by nature, not man. Anything that God made has no starch. That's another thing. Anything that nature makes has no starch. Anything that man made has to have starch, because starch is a binder. To titrate two unequal chemicals, you have to use a starch. Starch is not a food. Starch is a chemical. When we believe that the milk of a cow, an animal, is sufficient to afford nutrition to a human body, then one has to question that, because I am not an animal. That's common sense, I think. Animals produces milk for animal babies. Human beings, women, females, produces milk for human babies. But something happened to us that we elect to do just the opposite. Instead of us giving our babies the milk of a female human, we elect and chose to give our children the milk of an animal. I think that if we are to be scientific, intelligent, and lowest on the strata, to use our common sense, is there something wrong with that?
Now here are my 2 cents, and feel free to keep the change. That was wonderful, wasn't it? What a gift to the world both men are and have been. But let me share with you something else you won't hear in the media or in any conventional medical journal. Scientists and physicians alike call it the obesity paradox. While fat has been blamed for heart attack, stroke, diabetes, and a host of other serious illnesses, researchers are finding that having inordinately low fat levels may make us even more vulnerable to disease and death. What does that all mean? It means that being slightly overweight may protect us against dying from the very diseases fat is believed to cause. Isn't that extraordinary? But not surprising, at least not to me. I've been practicing and been preaching similar things to my clients for decades now. This is why my focus has always been on health rather than simply losing fat. I've learned that the science of common sense will always be underfunded, underappreciated, unacknowledged, and or dismissed altogether as home remedies or medical quackery. So what would make fat beneficial in times of sickness? Well, the theories are still evolving, but here's the most common sense one. When the body becomes diseased, it has a greater need for energy to combat the disease. Think of it as the body mobilizing its troops from one region where its job is to maintain peace versus moving troops to a region of clear and present danger where the threat of war is escalating. Fat then is mobilized as a frontline defense by helping the body sustain functionality during sickness and recovery. Visceral fat can become inflamed and lead to diabetes and other ailments, but subcutaneous fat provides insulation and sustainable energy in times of illness, as well as a frontline defense. Of course, other factors play an important role as well. Those who do aerobic exercise and strengthen the heart muscle generally have better outcomes after heart disease, even if they are overweight. Exercise also helps reduce visceral fat and redirects it to the periphery where it can be used for energy and repair. Apparently, it is healthier to be overweight and fit than simply to be thin. Now, next week I will give you some keys to what you should do next to assist in visceral fat mobilization. But in the meantime, I want you to rethink this entire notion about body fat. The Weight Watchers of the world are wrong because they have nothing to offer you but the promise of losing weight without any regard for what that weight is made of or what long-term harm it may be doing to your health. Dear friends, I wish above all things that you prosper just as your soul prospers. You've been listening to Urban X Real Talk Fitness Radio with your host Tiaja. Also, please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, Snapchat, as well as all of your other favorite social media. One last thing, show your support by hitting that subscribe button and sharing this podcast with your family and friends. Finally, don't forget to stop through our flagship website at www.urbanxfitness.net, where you will find our online stores, the Urban Experience Fit Stores 1 and 2. Once there, you can download our unique unique home and gym workouts, dietary menus, as well as purchase some remarkably bold teas and spark your own revolution of self-care. Then head over to our small library of my hand-picked, personally endorsed nutritional products. Okay, got it? Okay, then get it. Until next week, as always, walk in health and peace.